Hello, world. Welcome to Rex Arthur TV. This is the Rex Arthur Show, where we discuss LGBTQ issues with an LGBTQ approach and an LGBT perspective in an LGBTQ plus planet, where each and every one of us belongs to one or two letters in the LGBTQIIAAP, the 10-letter sexual alphabet, and everybody belongs to it. I love the picture we got in the other video of BBC. They're showing the whole world is a rainbow. Yes. And I want to talk about that, but not now. Everything is a rainbow. God is a rainbow. Science is a rainbow. It's unbelievable. Listen to my do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do. That's a rainbow of sound. It's called the solfa ladder. It's a rainbow. And then when you arrange people in heights, you have the shortest and then ascending to the tallest. That's a rainbow. That's a spectrum. Even I told people, I've been talking about death. Do you know death is in a spectrum? Everything is in a rainbow, even death. When you are born, all of us are in the spectrum called life and death. Do you know a 1-year-old can die? Why? Because in the rainbow spectrum of life, the rainbow of life or the rainbow of death, he has a condition that takes him to be at the door of death and then finally dies. Yes, 1-year-old baby. He has a condition, a heart condition that makes him die. Because on the rainbow of death, he is at the end. Now, some people have terminal diseases. They are not dead, but they are like dead because they have a condition that has no cure. See? Then you have people who go into a coma. So those ones are almost dead, but they are not yet dead. Then you have people who die. And when you die, you have reached the end of the rainbow of life and death. So you see, everything is a rainbow. It's unbelievable. If you study and understand that, you will sleep. Do what you want. Diversity is the king. Diversity is the science. There is no more binary. I saw what's happening in Europe today. I was listening to the news and I saw that Britain again, Brexit party beat Labour and Conservative in the European elections. What is happening? The binary system is dead, is going. Now the world is non-binary. Just in time when you have sexual identities called non-binaries. That's where we are. America is going non-binary politically. No more you are either a Republican or a Democrat. Gone. It's going very soon. Very soon. Of course, I know Americans tend to be very conservative. Well, the old type, the old people. I don't know what millennials want, but millennials are sadly going to they still want the binary system. But what is happening in Britain? They are gone. they are no longer happy with the two-party system. And it's evident by the fact that Nigel Farage has won again. Only that there is a problem because the number of people who don't want Brexit are increasing. So Nigel Farage has a problem because people still are feeling the pinch of Brexit. And you see, today we want to discuss about the reformation, cultural reformation. And you can see how, but before we talk about that, I'm just talking about Britain. You can see how Theresa May is now leaving power because of the Brexit. And I can understand she has done a good job, and she was in a very bad predicament. What was the predicament? She was a Remainer. And how could she oversee Brexit? In fact, the best person to oversee Brexit is a Brexiteer. That's in fact what was supposed to happen. The leader of Brexit was to be the one to take Britain out of Europe. But Theresa May was very clever. I don't know if she doesn't know. By the way, I find her more cunning than Margaret Thatcher. Very clever, because this thing went round and round and round and round. And now Britain has been involved in the European elections. And you see, even Nigel is a pretender, because why is he in an election over a thing he wants to leave? Why is he in a European election? It's because, and yet he wants to leave Europe. You see? So Britain is involved in the European elections, and what does that mean? Britain will still think of staying in Europe. So what I'm seeing, there's going to be a crisis if they don't have a second referendum. Yes, there'll be a very big crisis if they don't, because it will be repeat of what happened in 2016, 2015, because Nigel Farage will go to Europe and he will go and tell them, we want a Brexit, a no-deal Brexit. In fact, that's what he has said today. He said he wants to leave Europe without a deal. So what's going to happen is what's going to happen now when they have negotiations of Brexit, that's what Nigel will say, we are leaving. And then the other parties will say, excuse me, no, we still need a deal. And he says, no, the deal hasn't worked and I've won the European election. So there's going to be a very big tussle in Britain. I understand the reason why the problem is in Britain. It's because, and this is what we're talking about today, we are talking about cultural reformation. It's basically because the world is becoming nationalistic. It's even right-wing. Even today, the European Parliament, all of Europe had the elections, not only Britain. And majority of the parties are right-wing. Yes, they are right-wing. Of course, let's get this straight. I'm not saying that that right-wing politics is bad all through, Yuval Harari has done a video about nationalism, and he said the bright sides, the benefits of nationalism. I've forgotten the title of the video. And personally, I listened to it, but I'm not a fan of nationalism, because nationalism has more sad stories than happy stories, and that's why I don't support it that much. But it's what I learned from Yuval is that when you're studying something, look at its positives and its negatives. So he has looked at the negatives and positives of nationalism, and he has said that. And I was now still telling myself, uh, it's so weird he can support it, but it's not weird. But because Nazism was a nationalistic, and Mussolini was a nationalist, and you saw the horrors that nationalists can bring to people. Pol Pot, all of these guys, they were nationalists. However, even socialists can bring problems. Stalin was a socialist, and so that's what you need to understand. Sometimes it's not political philosophy that leads you to make mistakes. It is your goal. What you want to do as a country. Like Nazi Germany. Nazi Germany is Nazi Germany. Very soon we're going to get so scientific in thinking, analogies will disappear. Sometimes we are too casual with analogies, and then you can say someone is like a Nazi, and then you keep on saying that. But you are supposed to analyze what they do and really look at what they do. And if they do it like the Nazis, then they are most probably Nazis. Like, for example, and we talk about cultural reformation, even religious reformation, I feel Islam needs to reform its understanding of people. Yes, because there is some anti-Semitism that is supported by the Quran, and this is what makes people anti-Semitic Muslims. Yes, that's what I can tell you. Yes, and you see, if it's anti-Semitic, it will bring fascism, because fascism is a dictatorship with murder. It is where you kill people because they are not following your way. That's what Hitler was nothing but a murderer. He killed people who did not fit his bill. That's it. So that's what you need to understand about. Even that's why countries do not. You see, Europe left the Nazi system when they abolished death penalty, because they believe that the right to life is inalienable, and nobody should do what? Should kill you because of a crime. Rather, the worst punishment should be life imprisonment. That's what you need to understand. And because by you killing a person, death penalty, it makes the state a murderer. And that's what Hitler did. Hitler used the state to murder people. It was mass death penalty. Just because of who you are. That you're a homosexual. That you're a Jew. You see? So Europe learned from that, and they didn't copy that Nazism. So I think what's happening now in Europe is what you call is selective nationalism. They are trying not to have the Nazi element of nationalism, but they are now trying to have what you call I would call it native nationalism. Native nationalism means that, and it's what's also being called right now tribalism. Native nationalism is whereby you value your heritage more than another heritage. And I laugh, though I don't laugh, but I laugh because of something. People have been fighting multiculturalism in Europe again. I think we won't call this video what we wanted to call it. We won't call it cultural reformation. Let's talk nationalism. And of course, I listened to Yuval Harari about that. So let's just go to nationalism. And he said, okay, I was talking about Europe and human beings. We are multicultural. Everybody's multicultural, in case you didn't know. Reason being, all of us are carrying a culture that has different ages. When you stop a person on the way, he will tell you, you will ask him, who are you? I'm a Buddhist, Latvian, economist. That is culture. He has very many cultures. One culture, Buddhist. Another culture, Latvian. Another culture, economist. Another culture, he's a man. Another culture, he's bisexual. You see, all those are cultures and we all live with them. We are multicultural. But the native nationalism is where now someone wants to only remain with his indigenous nationality, whereby he doesn't want to, like in Europe, what's happening, they are atheists now. And well, some of them, the most atheists are in China. So they're atheist, and that means they have thrown away the Christian culture of going to church, having Christmas. Of course, they still have Christmas and they do whatever. Christianity is no longer an enforceable culture in Europe for many Europeans. So you see, they are leaving them aside to get a very small culture, or one culture that is the national culture. Like, I'm a Swede, I'm a Dane, that's all. I don't want anything else. I don't want to know that there's a Muslim who is a Dane. So that's what's happening in Europe. It is populism, right-wing thinking of be with yourself. And remember what I told people, racism, homophobia, all of these things, they are natural tendencies. They are cured by education. Racism is cured by education. What else? Homophobia is cured by education. Okay? So when you are educated, you will not be racist. And what do I mean by education? Not learning how to plant crops or learning how to make a phone. Social education about human nature, the diversity of human nature, and about sexual diversity. Yes, that's what you need to understand. I am telling you, I don't know how to say it. I will keep on repeating it. That's the thing. If you don't read sexual diversity, my friend, you will fall in the trap of attacking homosexuals, bisexuals, and transgenders. Yes, I repeat it over and over again. I like what Binyavanga said. I was just watching a video when he was speaking, and he said every African has to accept every kind of diversity, even that which they do not understand. And I said that is wisdom from above, because you may not understand gay people, but it doesn't give you a right to fight that person. You know, women will never understand men. Yes. I'm telling you, a woman will never understand a man because she's not a man. Even if intersexually she has a man, but she's not a man. She's not fully a man. So she will not fully understand a man. The best person she'll understand very well is a woman who has the same wavelengths as her. Because a straight woman doesn't have the same wavelengths as a bisexual woman. Very different. A gay man doesn't have the same wavelengths as a straight man, but they have similar wavelengths if you put him next to a gay woman. It's interesting. That's life. Everything is a wavelength. Even this is wavelength. All of this is wavelength. So that's what you need to understand. So, back to Europe. Europe is having this native nationalism, and it's in response to the Arab world not opening its doors to different nationalities. Because when you go to the Arab world, it's very impossible to put up your Christian church, temple, Buddhist. Can you imagine Hindus going to live in Saudi Arabia? My God, that's sacrilege for Islam. So you see, there's a lot of work to do in terms of having a multicultural world. Yes, because that's why Indians fight Pakistanis every year. Kashmir, every year, because they hate each other. I don't know what you think about the world, but for me, I believe we are all in the world to build a better place, to build a better world every day. That's what I love Michael Jackson's song. Heal the world, make it a better place. That's my job. That's your job. Make the world a better place. And how do you do that? Tolerate one another, live with one another. So, my views of nationalism, as I've told you, native nationalism is what I'm seeing happening in Europe, and it's affecting social integration. Have you noticed something very interesting? Is the news talking about people going to Europe? The Syrians, they've stopped going. They've stopped going. So, and are you even hearing news about the Syrian refugees in European countries? Gone. You see? And people are in the camps. And some are not making trips. Of course, the war has kind of subsided. ISIS has been defeated. So, many Syrians are not thinking of leaving the country. So that's what you understand now is happening. Because of that, now Europe is organizing itself and they are taking nationalism seriously. And it's affecting the EU. Because already this election that has happened, majority of the parties winning are right-wing parties. And the danger of that is that some of these countries will be tempted to leave Europe, especially if Brexit succeeds. That is going to be the end of EU. Yes. That's what you need to understand. It's that serious. Because right-wingers tend to not support regionalism. Yeah, they are very nationalistic. They want security, national borders. Anyway, we'll wait and see what's happening. But that's my assessment of nationalism. I just had that. Of course, I started talking about Brexit and I want to talk about cultural reformation, but I couldn't. So I decided to just flow in nationalism. But as I told you, I'm going to do like one video per week or one day when I do videos. because I want to, I'm taking a sabbatical where I'll be reading very many things that I've collected so that I come back with a bang, you know. I want to come back when the LGBTQ case is finally done well. I mean, is finally decided and at the Court of Appeal. So in the Court of Appeal, if the judgment is good, of course we will not just come back and now do many videos, but we'll slowly measure the atmosphere and the environment, and then we will come back and do videos as normally. I was even thinking of maybe starting a new channel that would not be LGBTQ, but I said no. I prefer this. I say everything on this channel, and as an LGBTQ person in an LGBTQ planet, so there's nothing wrong with this station, and I'm very happy with it. All the videos I wanted are here, and we'll carry on that way. So thank you so much for joining me. This was my thoughts of nationalism. Think about it. You could watch the video by Yuval Harari and about nationalism. And I know because and I'm gonna do a video also about nationalism very soon when I'm going to do studies of religious nationalism. And this is seen in the Bible. Yes, it is seen in the Bible. It's seen in the Quran, but mostly in the Bible. Muslim Islam was not nationalistic. It was transnational. It was an imperial religion because Muhammad took the religion everywhere he went, and that was not just Saudi Arabia. Judaism is a national religion that only belongs to Jews, and they do not want people to be part of it because it is only for Jews. Then Christianity also started as a national religion. It was a Jewish religion. And they got a problem. It took God to talk to Peter and tell him, you know what? You have to accept the Gentiles to be part of this system. Well, it's alleged. So Peter goes to preach to Cornelius, very Gentile name, and the guy started speaking in tongues, and he was like, what is this madness? This is an uncircumcised man, and he's speaking in tongues. And that's what happened. And that's when Gentiles were accepted. But it was a problem and a process because they believed that Jesus Christ was the king to come and rule Israel. They were not thinking about the world. They were thinking about Israel. And so Christianity now, because it became Gentile, it ceased being Jewish, especially when Rome attacked Israel and caused them to disperse. So from that time, Christianity became Gentile. And now I'm also doing a research, and I've noticed Jews have started coming back to Christianity through the Messianic movement. But they are struggling again with the acceptance of Gentiles and the acceptance of Paul, his teachings, because Paul was so Gentile in his teachings. It is very normal for a Jew who lives in Gentile world becomes Gentilized, and that's what happened to Paul. He was very learned. He read Greek philosophy. He walked about. He went to watch sports. So that's what happened to Paul. He was very well versed, He knew the world. He was an international man. And he internationalized the Bible, the New Testament. And John also internationalized the New Testament because he traveled and he died in Patmos, a Roman colony. So all of these things. So Christianity had the roots of nationalism. Now, why am I calling it religious nationalism? Because this is what I'm seeing in many countries. There is the separation between church and state is collapsing, and very many states. But I already said this one time, even in a book I wrote, that there are more theocracies than democracies. You see? And even in countries like Kenya, I know the battle is also religious when it comes to human rights, because you have Islamic political power and Christian political power, and they sometimes don't agree because they have their vision. And this is what I want to discuss when I go and talk about the Kenyan case, but in a religious perspective, and the problem of separation of church and state. So all of it is nationalism, and there are very many types of nationalisms. And that's what we'll be doing, spending our time reading during the sabbatical. I can't wait to sit down and just focus on many topics, and I'm going to do that. And when I come back, don't be surprised if I no, I'm joking. Don't You will see a different person, and a different, in the sense, not different that I'm not advocating for LGBTQ rights forever. LGBTQ, whenever you see that letter, that is science. Just know, and that's God. Because God is gay, God is a lesbian, God is a bisexual, God is a queer, God is a questioner, God is an intersex, God is straight, God is asexual, God is pansexual, God is all. Because everybody is an expression of God. Everybody. Sexual identity. Even a blind person. What did Jesus say when the disciples asked, why is this man blind? Did he sin? Or did his parents sin? You see, the belief in those days, if you had a weird life, it meant that it's because of sin. And Jesus said, no, it's not sin. It's for the glory of God. It's to show the beauty of God, the diversity of God, genetic diversity. Of course, for the religious, it is just that. But for me, who is a scientist first, I don't put religion first. I put science first. It is genetic diversity. Yes. And I'm going to discuss this when we do the religious video for the theological channel. Okay. I was just bantering about, nationalism. But that's what's happening all over the world. Please understand. Take care. Read about nationalism. That's what we're going to read. And we're going to read about religion, religious nationalism, and secular nationalism. We're going to read about Nazism in this sabbatical I'm taking, so that as the atmosphere, the climate cools down in Kenya, and all of those things I'm going to read about. Those are the topics I'm going to read, and very many other things. Okay, thank you so much.